the new God of divinity, the new gods of divinity, the new God of divinity, the new goddess of divinity, the new goddesses of divinity, the new goddess of divinity, the old God of divinity, the old gods of divinity, the old God of divinity, the old goddess of divinity, the old goddesses of divinity, the old goddess of divinity, the greater God of divinity, the greater gods of divinity, the greater God of divinity, the greater goddess of divinity, the greater goddesses of divinity, the greater goddess of divinity, the lesser God of divinity, the lesser gods of divinity, the lesser God of divinity, the lesser goddess of divinity, the lesser goddesses of divinity, the lesser goddess of divinity, the higher God of divinity, the higher gods of divinity, the higher God of divinity, the higher goddess of divinity, the higher goddesses of divinity, the higher goddess of divinity, the lower God of divinity, the lower gods of divinity, the lower God of divinity, the lower goddess of divinity, the lower goddesses of divinity, the lower goddess of divinity, the greater spirit of divinity, the greater spirits of divinity, the greater spirit of divinity, the lesser spirit of divinity, the lesser spirits of divinity, the lesser spirit of divinity, the higher spirit of divinity, the higher spirits of divinity, the higher spirit of divinity, the lower spirit of divinity, the lower spirits of divinity, the lower spirit of divinity, the major God of divinity, the major gods of divinity, the major God of divinity, the major goddess of divinity, the major goddesses of divinity, the major goddess of divinity, the minor God of divinity, the minor gods of divinity, the minor God of divinity, the minor goddess of divinity, the minor goddesses of divinity, the minor goddess of divinity, the superior God of divinity, the superior gods of divinity, the superior God of divinity, the superior goddess of divinity, the superior goddesses of divinity, the superior goddess of divinity, the inferior God of divinity, the inferior gods of divinity, the inferior God of divinity, the inferior goddess of divinity, the inferior goddesses of divinity, the inferior goddess of divinity, the ancestor God of divinity, the ancestor gods of divinity, the ancestor God of divinity, the ancestor goddess of divinity, the ancestor goddesses of divinity, the ancestor goddess of divinity, the ascendant God of divinity, the ascendant gods of divinity, the ascendant God of divinity, the ascendant goddess of divinity, the ascendant goddesses of divinity, the ascendant goddess of divinity, the descendant God of divinity, the descendant gods of divinity, the descendant God of divinity, the descendant goddess of divinity, the descendant goddesses of divinity, the descendant goddess of divinity, the transcendent God of divinity, the transcendent gods of divinity, the transcendent God of divinity, the transcendent goddess of divinity, the transcendent goddesses of divinity, the transcendent goddess of divinity, the past God of divinity, the past gods of divinity, the past God of divinity, the past goddess of divinity, the past goddesses of divinity, the past goddess of divinity, the present God of divinity, the present gods of divinity, the present God of divinity, the present goddess of divinity, the present goddesses of divinity, the present goddess of divinity, the future God of divinity, the future gods of divinity, the future God of divinity, the future goddess of divinity, the future goddesses of divinity, the future goddess of divinity, the authentic God of divinity, the authentic gods of divinity, the authentic God of divinity, the authentic goddess of divinity, the authentic goddesses of divinity, the authentic goddess of divinity, the synthetic God of divinity, the synthetic gods of divinity, the synthetic God of divinity, the synthetic goddess of divinity, the synthetic goddesses of divinity, the synthetic goddess of divinity, the progressive God of divinity, the progressive gods of divinity, the progressive God of divinity, the progressive goddess of divinity, the progressive goddesses of divinity, the progressive goddess of divinity, the regressive God of divinity, the regressive gods of divinity, the regressive God of divinity, the regressive goddess of divinity, the regressive goddesses of divinity, the regressive goddess of divinity, the ordinary God of divinity, the ordinary gods of divinity, the ordinary God of divinity, the ordinary goddess of divinity, the ordinary goddesses of divinity, the ordinary goddess of divinity, the extraordinary God of divinity, the extraordinary gods of divinity, the extraordinary God of divinity, the extraordinary goddess of divinity, the extraordinary goddesses of divinity, the extraordinary goddess of divinity, the static God of divinity, the static gods of divinity, the static God of divinity, the static goddess of divinity, the static goddesses of divinity, the static goddess of divinity, the dynamic God of divinity, the dynamic gods of divinity, the dynamic God of divinity, the dynamic goddess of divinity, the dynamic goddesses of divinity, the dynamic goddess of divinity, the land God of divinity, the land gods of divinity, the land God of divinity, the land goddess of divinity, the land goddesses of divinity, the land goddess of divinity, the sea God of divinity, the sea gods of divinity, the sea God of divinity, the sea goddess of divinity, the sea goddesses of divinity, the sea goddess of divinity, the sky God of divinity, the sky gods of divinity, the sky God of divinity, the sky goddess of divinity, the sky goddesses of divinity, the sky goddess of divinity, the God of divinity, the gods of divinity, the God of divinity, the goddess of divinity, the goddesses of divinity, the goddess of divinity, the half God of divinity, the half gods of divinity, the half God of divinity, the half goddess of divinity, the half goddesses of divinity, the half goddess of divinity, the vessel of divinity, the vessels of divinity, the vessel of divinity, the name of divinity, the names of divinity, the name of divinity, the person of divinity, the persons of divinity, the person of divinity, the persona of divinity, the personas of divinity, the persona of divinity, the personage of divinity, the personages of divinity, the personage of divinity, the personality of divinity, the personalities of divinity, the personality of divinity, the personification of divinity, the personifications of divinity, the personification of divinity, the image of divinity, the images of divinity, the image of divinity, the imagination of divinity, the imaginations of divinity, the imagination of divinity, the belief of divinity, the beliefs of divinity, the belief of divinity, the thought of divinity, the thoughts of divinity, the thought of divinity, the word of divinity, the words of divinity, the word of divinity, the action of divinity, the actions of divinity, the action of divinity, the reaction of divinity, the reactions of divinity, the reaction of divinity, the feeling of divinity, the feelings of divinity, the feeling of divinity, the situation of divinity, the situations of divinity, the situation of divinity, the circumstance of divinity, the circumstances of divinity, the circumstance of divinity, the environment of divinity, the environments of divinity, the environment of divinity, the relationship of divinity, the relationships of divinity, the relationship of divinity, the number of divinity, the numbers of divinity, the number of divinity, the formula of divinity, the formulas of divinity, the formula of divinity, the equation of divinity, the equations of divinity, the equation of divinity, the theory of divinity, the theories of divinity, the theory of divinity, the symbol of divinity, the symbols of divinity, the symbol of divinity, the color of divinity, the colors of divinity, the color of divinity, the thing of divinity, the things of divinity, the thing of divinity, the way of divinity, the ways of divinity, the way of divinity, the place of divinity, the places of divinity, the place of divinity, the time of divinity, the times of divinity, the time of divinity, the event of divinity, the events of divinity, the event of divinity, the result of divinity, the results of divinity, the result of divinity, the crown of divinity, the crowns of divinity, the crown of divinity, the throne of divinity, the thrones of divinity, the throne of divinity, the divinity king, the divinity kings, the divinity kingdom, the divinity kingdoms, the divinity king subject, the Divinity King's subjects, the Divinity King's dominion, the Divinity King's dominions, the kingdom of divinity, the kingdoms of divinity, the kingdom of divinity, the Divinity Queen, the Divinity Queens, the Divinity Queendom, the Divinity Queendoms, the Divinity Queen's subject, the Divinity Queen's subjects, the Divinity Queen's dominion, the Divinity Queen's dominions, the Queendom of divinity, the Queendoms of divinity, the Queendom of divinity, the Divinity Prince, the Divinity Princes, the Divinity Princedom, the Divinity Princedoms, the Divinity Prince's subject, the Divinity Prince's subjects, the Divinity Prince's dominion, the Divinity Prince's dominions, the Princedom of divinity, the Princedoms of divinity, the Princedom of divinity, the Divinity Princess, the Divinity Princesses, the Divinity Princessdom, the Divinity Princessdoms, the Divinity Princess's subject, the Divinity Princess's subjects, the Divinity Princess's dominion, the Divinity Princess's dominions, the Princessdom of divinity, the Princessdoms of divinity, the Princessdom of divinity, the Lord of divinity, the Lords of divinity, the Lord of divinity, the Lordess of divinity, the Lordesses of divinity, the Lordess of divinity, the Priest of divinity, the Priests of divinity, the Priest of divinity, the Priestess of divinity, the Priestesses of divinity, the Priestess of divinity, the Ritual of divinity, the Rituals of divinity, the Ritual of divinity, the Shrine of divinity, the Shrines of divinity, the Shrine of divinity, the Temple of divinity, the Temples of divinity, the Temple of divinity, the Leader of divinity, the Leaders of divinity, the Leader of divinity, the Follower of divinity, the Followers of divinity, the Follower of divinity, the Natural Substance of divinity, the Natural Substances of divinity, the Natural Substance of divinity, the Supernatural Substance of divinity, the Supernatural Substances of divinity, the Supernatural Substance of divinity, the Temporal Substance of divinity, the Temporal Substances of divinity, the Temporal Substance of divinity, the Spiritual Substance of divinity, the Spiritual Substances of divinity, the Spiritual Substance of divinity, the Natural Form of divinity, the Natural Forms of divinity, the Natural Form of divinity, the Supernatural Form of divinity, the Supernatural Forms of divinity, the Supernatural Form of divinity, the Temporal Form of divinity, the Temporal Forms of divinity, the Temporal Form of divinity, the Spiritual Form of divinity, the Spiritual Forms of divinity, the Spiritual Form of divinity, the Age of divinity, the Ages of divinity, the Age of divinity, the Era of divinity, the Eras of divinity, the Era of divinity, the Awakener of divinity, the Awakeners of divinity, the Awakener of divinity, the Awakening of divinity, the Awakenings of divinity, the Awakening of divinity, the Realm of divinity, the Realms of divinity, the Realm of divinity, the Dimension of divinity, the Dimensions of divinity, the Dimension of divinity, the Zone of divinity, the Zones of divinity, the Zone of divinity, the Frequency of divinity, the Frequencies of divinity, the Frequency of divinity, the Century of divinity, the Centuries of divinity, the Century of divinity, the Millennium of divinity, the Millenniums of divinity, the Millennium of divinity, the Purpose of divinity, the Purposes of divinity, the Purpose of divinity, the Meaning of divinity, the Meanings of divinity, the Meaning of divinity, the Culture of divinity, the Cultures of divinity, the Culture of divinity, the Demonstrator of divinity, the Demonstrators of divinity, the Demonstrator of divinity, the Demonstration of divinity, the Demonstrations of divinity, the Demonstration of divinity, the Manifester of divinity, the Manifestors of divinity, the Manifester of divinity, the Manifestation of divinity, the Manifestations of divinity, the Manifestation of divinity, the Presence of divinity, the Presences of divinity, the Presence of divinity, the Glow of divinity, the Glows of divinity, the Glow of divinity, the Goal of divinity, the Goals of divinity, the Goal of divinity, the Plan of divinity, the Plans of divinity, the Plan of divinity, the Book of divinity, the books of divinity, the book of divinity, the philosopher of divinity, the philosophers of divinity, the philosopher of divinity, the philosophy of divinity, the philosophies of divinity, the philosophy of divinity, the releaser of divinity, the releasers of divinity, the releaser of divinity, the release of divinity, the releases of divinity, the release of divinity, the variable of divinity, the variables of divinity, the variable of divinity, the cause of divinity, the causes of divinity, the cause of divinity, the effect of divinity, the effects of divinity, the effect of divinity, the journey of divinity, the journeys of divinity, the journey of divinity, the emergence of divinity, the emergences of divinity, the emergence of divinity, the source of divinity, the sources of divinity, the source of divinity, the originator of divinity, the originators of divinity, the originator of divinity, the origin of divinity, the origins of divinity, the origin of divinity, the forefather of divinity, the forefathers of divinity, the forefather of divinity, the foremother of divinity, the foremothers of divinity, the foremother of divinity, the ancestor of divinity, the ancestors of divinity, the ancestor of divinity, the descendant of divinity, the descendants of divinity, the descendant of divinity, the lineage of divinity, the lineages of divinity, the lineage of divinity, the heritage of divinity, the heritages of divinity, the heritage of divinity, the heir of divinity, the heirs of divinity, the heir of divinity, the co-heir of divinity, the co-heirs of divinity, the co-heir of divinity, the joint heir of divinity, the joint heirs of divinity, the joint heir of divinity, the dynasty of divinity, the dynasties of divinity, the dynasty of divinity, the force of divinity, the forces of divinity, the force of divinity, the law of divinity, the laws of divinity, the law of divinity, the pact of divinity, the pacts of divinity, the pact of divinity, the game of divinity, the games of divinity, the game of divinity, the mask of divinity, the masks of divinity, the mask of divinity, the armor of divinity, the armors of divinity, the armor of divinity, the sword of divinity, the swords of divinity, the sword of divinity, the shield of divinity, the shields of divinity, the shield of divinity, the force shield of divinity, the force shields of divinity, the force shield of divinity, the armored force shield of divinity, the armored force shields of divinity, the armored force shield of divinity, the champion of divinity, the champions of divinity, the champion of divinity, the guardian of divinity, the guardians of divinity, the guardian of divinity, the defender of divinity, the defenders of divinity, the defender of divinity, the protector of divinity, the protectors of divinity, the protector of divinity, the chant of divinity, the chants of divinity, the chant of divinity, the shape of divinity, the shapes of divinity, the shape of divinity, the cube of divinity, the cubes of divinity, the cube of divinity, the cuboid of divinity, the cuboids of divinity, the cuboid of divinity, the sphere of divinity, the spheres of divinity, the sphere of divinity, the spheroid of divinity, the spheroids of divinity, the spheroid of divinity, the prism of divinity, the prisms of divinity, the prism of divinity, the pyramid of divinity, the pyramids of divinity, the pyramid of divinity, the cylinder of divinity, the cylinders of divinity, the cylinder of divinity, the cone of divinity, the cones of divinity, the cone of divinity, the triangle of divinity, the triangles of divinity, the triangle of divinity, the circle of divinity, the circles of divinity, the circle of divinity, the semicircle of divinity, the semicircles of divinity, the semicircle of divinity, the square of divinity, the squares of divinity, the square of divinity, the rectangle of divinity, the rectangles of divinity, the rectangle of divinity, the parallelogram of divinity, the parallelograms of divinity, the parallelogram of divinity, the rhombus of divinity, the rhombuses of divinity, the rhombus of divinity, the trapezoid of divinity, the trapezoids of divinity, the trapezoid of divinity, The polygon of divinity. The polygons of divinity. The polygon of divinity. The pentagon of divinity. The pentagons of divinity. The pentagon of divinity. The hexagon of divinity. The hexagons of divinity. The hexagon of divinity. The septagon of divinity. The septagons of divinity. The septagon of divinity. The octagon of divinity. The octagons of divinity. The octagon of divinity. The nonagon of divinity. The nonagons of divinity. The nonagon of divinity. The decagon of divinity. The decagons of divinity. The decagon of divinity. The evolution of divinity. The evolutions of divinity. The evolution of divinity. The revolution of divinity. The revolutions of divinity. The revolution of divinity. The elemental art of divinity. The elemental arts of divinity. The elemental art of divinity. The elemental science of divinity. The elemental sciences of divinity. The elemental science of divinity. The elemental principle of divinity. The elemental principles of divinity. The elemental principle of divinity. The elemental technology of divinity. The elemental technologies of divinity. The elemental technology of divinity. The low elemental art of divinity. The low elemental arts of divinity. The low elemental art of divinity. The low elemental science of divinity. The low elemental sciences of divinity. The low elemental science of divinity. The low elemental principle of divinity. The low elemental principles of divinity. The low elemental principle of divinity. The low elemental technology of divinity. The low elemental technologies of divinity. The low elemental technology of divinity. The high elemental art of divinity. The high elemental arts of divinity. The high elemental art of divinity. The high elemental science of divinity. The high elemental sciences of divinity. The high elemental science of divinity. The high elemental principle of divinity. The high elemental principles of divinity. The high elemental principle of divinity. The high elemental technology of divinity. The high elemental technologies of divinity. The high elemental technology of divinity. The agent of divinity. The agents of divinity. The agent of divinity. The agency of divinity. The agencies of divinity. The agency of divinity. The amplifier of divinity. The amplifiers of divinity. The amplifier of divinity. The amplification of divinity. The amplifications of divinity. The amplification of divinity. The enhancer of divinity. The enhancers of divinity. The enhancer of divinity. The enhancement of divinity. The enhancements of divinity. The enhancement of divinity. The magnifier of divinity. The magnifiers of divinity. The magnifier of divinity. The magnification of divinity. The magnifications of divinity. The magnification of divinity. The influencer of divinity. The influencers of divinity. The influencer of divinity. The influence of divinity. The influences of divinity. The influence of divinity. The emanator of divinity. The emanators of divinity. The emanator of divinity. The emanation of divinity. The emanations of divinity. The emanation of divinity. The converger of divinity. The convergers of divinity. The converger of divinity. The convergence of divinity. The convergences of divinity. The convergence of divinity. The aura of divinity. The auras of divinity. The aura of divinity. The impression of divinity. The impressions of divinity. The impression of divinity. The intelligence of divinity. The intelligences of divinity. The intelligence of divinity. The sophistication of divinity. The sophistications of divinity. The sophistication of divinity. The genius of divinity. The geniuses of divinity. The genius of divinity. The polymath of divinity. The polymaths of divinity. The polymath of divinity. The psychic of divinity. The psychics of divinity. The psychic of divinity. The knowledge of divinity. The knowledges of divinity. The knowledge of divinity. The understanding of divinity. The understandings of divinity. The understanding of divinity. The wisdom of divinity. The wisdoms of divinity. The wisdom of divinity. The secret of divinity. The secrets of divinity. The secret of divinity. The mystery of divinity. The mysteries of divinity. The mystery of divinity. The revelation of divinity. The revelations of divinity. The revelation of divinity. The tactic of divinity. The tactics of divinity. the tactic of divinity, the strategy of divinity, the strategies of divinity, the strategy of divinity, the strength of divinity, the strengths of divinity, the strength of divinity, the might of divinity, the mights of divinity, the might of divinity, the power of divinity, the powers of divinity, the power of divinity, the authority of divinity, the authorities of divinity, the authority of divinity, the dominion of divinity, the dominions of divinity, the dominion of divinity, the rhythm of divinity, the rhythms of divinity, the rhythm of divinity, the melody of divinity, the melodies of divinity, the melody of divinity, the music of divinity, the musics of divinity, the music of divinity, the lyric of divinity, the lyrics of divinity, the lyric of divinity, the song of divinity, the songs of divinity, the song of divinity, the dance of divinity, the dances of divinity, the dance of divinity, the spirit of divinity, the spirits of divinity, the spirit of divinity, the soul of divinity, the souls of divinity, the soul of divinity, the body of divinity, the bodies of divinity, the body of divinity, the mark of divinity, the marks of divinity, the mark of divinity, the promise of divinity, the promises of divinity, the promise of divinity, the visionary of divinity, the visionaries of divinity, the visionary of divinity, the vision of divinity, the visions of divinity, the vision of divinity, the picture of divinity, the pictures of divinity, the picture of divinity, the sound of divinity, the sounds of divinity, the sound of divinity, the tongue of divinity, the tongues of divinity, the tongue of divinity, the language of divinity, the languages of divinity, the language of divinity, the communication of divinity, the communications of divinity, the communication of divinity, the people of divinity, the peoples of divinity, the people of divinity, the society of divinity, the societies of divinity, the society of divinity, the fortress of divinity, the fortresses of divinity, the fortress of divinity, the government of divinity, the governments of divinity, the government of divinity, the city of divinity, the cities of divinity, the city of divinity, the nation of divinity, the nations of divinity, the nation of divinity, the civilization of divinity, the civilizations of divinity, the civilization of divinity, the world of divinity, the worlds of divinity, the world of divinity,